Welcome back, comrades, to part 4, Into the Breach Unfair with the Blitzkrieg. We're seeing my roster right now. We got that Harold in the Lightning Mech, Jill in the Boulder Mech, and Lily Reed in the Hook Mech. We've also got a bench consisting of Kazakh Pleth and Morgan Lejeune. Electric Whip is basically fully upgraded. We've got Rebounding Volley with a damage upgrade on the Boulder Mech, and the Hook Mech has a Phase Cannon. So we are sitting pretty well here as we attempt RST, our final corporate island. We've got Tumblebugs and the Exploding Scion to deal with, which is always a problem. But this late into the run, I'm hoping that I can snowball sufficiently. So on my first mission selection, I'm eyeballing this one, Cataclysm. Usually pretty player-sided, and it's also short. And we need to get 7 enemies killed, so with a lot of, enemies, a lot of Vec stuck on the ground, we are hoping that the collapsing Earth will do a lot of that work for us. We've got the Self-Destruct Scion, a Tumblebug Leader, a Starfish, a normal Tumblebug, and a Gastropod, and a Starfish. On the 4th corporate island, we will be facing all alphas all the time. It's oops, all alphas. We want to get our boys out of the way of the Lightning Mech, because it's going to do some serious damage here. And then we can just start a big chain reaction. This'll be fun. And fortunately, we are just lucky enough to not get the grid damaged. I just kind of wanted to see what would happen. And then we can get some emergency shielding operational, and then we're just going to have Jill chill. No sense in using up that boosted. And look at that. Harold rolled Technician last island as his final skill, so he can repair that chip damage he took. But we gotta get that Scion finished off before we have to deal with further death throw issues. Careful there, Jill. We gotta take care of that Tumblebug first. Or not the Tumblebug, the Scion. There we go. Do a little bit of a reapplication there, and then Jill can finish off that Starfish. Easy peasy. Competent, says Jessica Kern. I agree. So it is our final turn. And the Vec are stuck on the collapsing side. So all we gotta do is push that Gastropod and we are good to go. Mission complete. We top the grid health off, and we've got decent grid defense. Phoenix Park is defend the train with a bonus power core. You hate to see it. We managed to thread the needle on a train mission on Detritus, but I'm not sure I was feeling quite so spicy, especially with Tumblebugs around. And we've got Do Not Kill the Volatile Vec. Again, another potentially problematic mission for the Blitzkrieg. Although I've got decent options to deal with it. And then we have take less than 4 mech damage with seismic activity. I'm curious to see if that top mission is defend the Terraformer. And then this mission is destroy 2 mountains and kill 7 enemies. That is a tough mission, even on the best of days. And with nothing but alphas and leaders on the board, I was thinking that was going to be a tall order. So I decided to go with the Seismic Activity mission. This one can be tricky. Unlike the Cataclysm, it's a normal mission length, and you have the collapsing ground, but it's sort of unpredictable. And as we will see, it causes me some consternation. This is a decent map seed for the Blitzkrieg. We've got that nice central grid building cluster, which the lightning mech always likes. So I deploy my other mechs in such a way that I want to, shield multiple buildings and have the boulder mech as my sort of flex slot. But then we've got problems because we get our first time pod. And time pods are bad news on this mission type. You can see the collapsing ground snaking towards the time pod. So I immediately start sweating. I have to try and grab that pod, lest it be sunk down into the bowels of the earth. So my options here are strange. It's always weird when the tumblebugs directly attack the grid. But with a single boulder, I can also push the starfish and scorpion out of the way. That just means that I have to get to that time pod, or else the scorpion will destroy it. But thanks to Harold, we have a push in us. And thanks to Lily with the big speed bump, we can go and grab the goods. In retrospect, maybe I should have just had Lily tank that hit from the Scorpion and shield the grid buildings. But we didn't really kill any enemies, so now we are facing a 6v3, which is a little bit dicey. And I also really don't like how the grid is, or how the land is collapsing. Because now, both Harold and Lily are stuck. If I cannot free them, then they are both going to die. And we will be at such a severe action disadvantage that I will be looking at big-time problems. So I can free Harold by damaging him with the rock. This also opens up an escape route for Lily. Lily needs to get out of there. And we can at least get some, hopefully, grid protection from the inevitable chain reaction of lightning I'm going to do. And then I do a critical misplay here. I lose sight of where the ground is going to collapse, and I forget to move Harold. Big time oopsie doodles. All I had to do was scooch Harold to the next to the building that was shielded, and then he wouldn't have taken any damage from the self-destruct. And I lose 2 grid health in the process. So I am screwing up major here. Whoops. Still 2 turns to go, and now I am down a mech. However, we have a couple things going for us. One, that Scorpion is stuck and was unable to do anything, and will count against the enemy spawns. And then also, due to the arrangement of the collapsing ground and the smoke tiles, that starfish is incapable of doing much of anything. I do put Lily on the enemy side of the board, just because it's probably their last opportunity to cross the threshold. Hopefully the boulder mech can, solve any other problems that emerge, even though I'm at a mega action disadvantage. So I'm functionally at a 3v2. We can discount the Scorpion, and then we've got that annoying Scion limiting our self-destruct options. But I am fortunate, due to the smoke and the leftover garbage from the tumblebug. We can get that Firefly smoked. And we somehow managed to emerge otherwise unscathed. But that was a big setback. We lost 2 grid health, and through my own stupidity, we lost a good pilot. Rest in pasta, Herald. We'll see you again someday. We get our grid health back, we get a reactor core, and since we've got a bench of 2 other pilots, we can just replace Herald. I elect to do Kaz. Similar to Herald, he gives a push option to the lightning mech, which is nice to have. And then I'll up the health on the lightning mech because Kaz can't otherwise heal himself. Now we've got just a simple mission. Protect the emergency batteries with shielded buildings, and we have the sabotaged, booby-trapped grid buildings. So I elect to pick this mission because I want to see what that final 2 rep mission is, hoping that it's defend the terraformer. And we've got 2 fireflies, 2 tumblebugs, and the starfish leader. If memory serves... there's our second time pod. I believe it's our last time pod of the run. Yeah, if memory serves, I spent a decent amount of time waffling back and forth on my options for this mission. So again, I might be skipping ahead a little bit in time to condense things. But this is a weird turn because we actually don't have any legitimate threats to the grid. That one Firefly is just going to hit a shielded building. So my puzzle on this round was, how can I take maximum advantage of the enemy, kind of giving us a free turn? And there were many ways I could have actually handled this turn, and I'm not sure what I ultimately wind up doing was the best choice. But I will be kind of looking at all of the positioning options available to my mechs and seeing how I can maximize my destruction. I think in retrospect, I should have had Kaz just go and electrocute the line of 4 enemies. I think that would have set me up for a board wipe on the next turn. Instead, I look to try and finish off the starfish leader. It's now going to be taking friendly fire from the Firefly, but in so doing, I will also lose one of my shielded buildings. And I consider just activating the sabotaged, the fake grid building bomb. But that just kind of leaves the question of what will the hook mech and boulder mech do? What is the optimal play? Because Lily doesn't have very many great options right now. I could have them just shield more grid buildings. But a damage dealer, the hook mech is not currently. So I elect to just get a little bit of chip damage and defend that one shielded building. I could push the starfish leader, and then it would get killed by friendly fire, but then before that happens, the sabotage grid building would just be destroyed. So I decide to just have Lily tank a hit, and we get more chip damage in. I guess I just wanted to pick up that time pod before the general chaos of battle potentially swallowed it, with Tumblebug Boulder exploding, blah blah blah. So on our next turn we've got a 5v3, but most of the OP4 is pretty heavily damaged, or at least suffered some chip damage. And the enemy is kind of constrained by the nature of this map. With shielded buildings, this is a pretty player-sided map. Without shielded buildings, this can be a nasty map seed. little bit swingy. Ultimately, you know, maybe we categorize it as a pretty neutral map. It can be bad for the enemy, or it can be bad for your squad, depending on how things shake out. So we'll get some tumblebug death going. And we will give up one of our shielded buildings. Waste not, want not. So on our penultimate turn, we've got a just a 3v3 neutral action advantage, with only one threat to the grid. And we will be in the clear. We can use the phase cannon to finish off that Firefly, and then we can just block a spawn. And then I believe we will be at a comfy 1v3, thanks to friendly fire and a spawn block. Look at that, it's just the Scion. Poor little guy. We will give that kill to Lily, as they still need XP. Now we're on to our final mission before the boss fight. And we get yet another pilot. We get Prospero with +3 grid defense. And since grid defense is one of the worst traits in the game, I am not too keen on leveling up Prospero. Not at least until we get Lily leveled up. But for my extra power core, I decide to invest in the Boulder Mech. More speed is always useful. And then our final mission is defend the Renfield bombs, which is a really bad option for the Blitzkrieg. Similar to, you know, defend the satellites or defend the tanks from Archive. It's just difficult to avoid destroying those bombs with the lightning mech. So I decided to go with Do Not Kill the Volatile Vec for my final mission. I figured because I am able to shield buildings with the phase cannon, I would have at least some options to handle the Volatile Vec without killing it. That was at least my thought process. If the hook mech is busy kind of wrangling the volatile, then between the boulder mech and the lightning mech, I should be able to handle the other threats. So we've got the Starfish Leader again, and a Firefly Starfish and Tumblebug, and then everybody's favorite, the Volatile Vec, which is always a Scorpion. So we will be placing the lightning mech close to the grid buildings where the non-volatile enemies are. Hook mech is in a position to try and deal with the volatile. I can see that, assuming I don't place anyone within range, the volatile Vec will waste its first action just moving, which is good. That buys me time to deal with the other enemies. Come on, man. Don't put the lightning mech there. Because then the volatile Vec will just web the lightning mech. There we go. Come on. It looks like a good deployment to me. I'm just considering the enemy initiative order, which is a habit that is always useful to do on Unfair. So 3 of the enemy basically ends up wasting their actions, which is very kind. we can cancel the Firefly's attack with the lightning mech because it's standing on sand. In general, the sand tiles are a boon to the Blitzkrieg, as the electric whip can, do damage and also cancel actions if they're standing on sand. I consider options for Lily. I elect to do some chip damage. Interesting that I decided to do that with the lightning mech instead of the boulder mech. Probably because I would also need to still wind up using an action to push the starfish leader. So that makes sense. So our next turn is it's a 4v3. Get the gastropod. And fortunately, the Firefly and the gastropod target my mechs and can be ignored. Thanks to the smoke, we can just cancel that starfish leader. That poor starfish leader is just going to spend the entire mission flailing around in that corner, which is good. And then we can shield the grid buildings from the volatile Vec, and we'll be in good shape. Another 4v3 on the next turn. We get another Firefly. And the enemy is really keen on attacking my mechs, which you love to see. Thanks to Kaz, we can get a push into smoke, once again canceling the starfish leader out. And then I elect to, I think, just ultimately block a spawn. Because Lily can afford the, taking 1 damage from the volatile. Unfortunately, I can't block that spawn if I leave the gastropod alive, because it will displace me. Will pull me off of that space. So I think what I like to do is kill the gastropod, and I can afford 1 chip damage on the volatile. And then that will give us a final turn of another 4v3. But I'm, at this juncture, feeling pretty confident. There we go. So aside from that real nasty second mission where we lost Harold, so far RST has been pretty kind. We've only got 1 actual threat to the grid. We're just going to have to help Lily out. And thanks to Kaz's finisher, they get a big boost to speed. And then Lily is safe. Mission accomplished. now we are on to our final boss fight before the volcanic island. Hopefully we can end this run strong. We are up against the gastropod leader. I think I am happy with my pilots. And once again, this map seed seems pretty decent for the Blitzkrieg. We've got the nice central buildings for the electricity chain. We can also shield them with with great ease. Unfortunately, we've got the Tumblebug leader as well, and a Firefly and a Starfish, as well as the Explodey Scion. But we were somewhat lucky in that due to the initiative order and how things shook out, the Tumblebug leader took no actions. So we need to get while the going's good. We do need to address the Firefly and the Gastropod leader. They are threatening the grid. Looking at my options, I can, if I leave the hook mech there to complete the chain, I can cancel the Gastropod's attack. That just means I need to address the Firefly, and we can actually finish off the boss and kill that Starfish. So we will be at a 3v3 on the next turn. Actually, I see a better solution. Thanks to the Electro Whip damaging the Tumblebug leader, we can eliminate all of the leaders on the first turn. And now we are sitting very comfortably. And Lily gets their final level up. That was a beautiful first round. Lily gets invulnerable, a bit sad. What that probably means is we're going to be probably benching Lily, or rather selling Lily at the end of this island, as her skills are just kind of mid. And we still have Morgan. We can get some spawn blocking. I elect to shield our critical mission objective. And we are looking at a penultimate turn of 3v3. I probably use the word penultimate too often, but it's a cool word. I like that word. The Tumblebug will kill itself on its own. We leave it alone. And then I could have had Jill block the spawns with the boulder, but I just elect to wipe out the enemy instead. And we can let that Tumblebug make a mistake. He can't help it, though. He's just a silly little guy. He's doing what his instincts tell him to do. But that is basically GG. Smash that scorpion with a big old rock. And what's interesting is we will see my final score here now. And I actually score higher than any of the other runs in this series so far, with the final score of 38,780. Beating the Rusting Hulks out. We get Repair Field and Rosy Rivets with +3 grid defense. So I go for Repair Field because, you know, maybe I'll have an open slot for it, if need be. And I look at what is available for sale. We've got Confuse Shot, Defensive Shrapnel, Grid Repulse, which is pretty decent. But then we've got Pull Tank. I have passed by the tanks, I think, so far in this series. They're very expensive, but this late into the run, we're very flush with cores, and I've got Morgan Le Jeune with Conservative. And Conservative means I can double up on tanks. And that's where things get really, really goofy. The light bulb turns on in my head. So the play now is to sell Prospero, sell Lily, and sell the Repair Field. And then I will be placing the pull tank on the lightning mech. Repair Field would have been handy to give Kaz an option to actually repair damage, but I'm not terribly worried about it. You know, most of our mechs have the full HP upgrade, and I decided to get a little spicy, and I remove the health and move upgrades from the lightning mech, and put them into upgrading the pull tank. So the tanks will have 3 HP and can fly, basically turning each pull tank into a sort of gutted defense mech from the Zenith Guard. This is very powerful. You notice how often I talk about how we've got a XV3 when I'm talking about the enemy. If I can deploy both tanks, then we're talking about XV5. We will have 5 actions. And remember, unfair difficulty likes to cap out at 6 enemies. So even if with a maximum board of 6 enemies, we will be in a really good position for a final mission. Like and subscribe to see the thrilling conclusion to the Blitzkrieg.